All right, Matthew, there's been some news around the NFL since our last show. Let's go through some of it and see if it's news or noise. You good with that?
You bet.
All right, first up, Nick Foles reportedly will sign with the Jaguars when free agency begins. Is the former Super Bowl MVP hopefully bringing that big Nick energy to the Jaguars offense? News or noise?
That's a good question, Secret Squirrel. Thank God you had no autographs there. I'm going to say this is news, right? Look, I'm not saying Foles is going to be a great fantasy player, but he's certainly an upgrade over Blake Bortles in the passing game. And in Jacksonville, he's going to reunite with John DeFilippo, who he had a lot of success with during that Super Bowl run in Philadelphia. DeFilippo, of course, the new offense coordinator in Jacksonville. Interesting to note, one thing that Foles has been very effective doing in his career is throwing to the slot. Over the last 2 seasons, Foles has completed over 70% of his passes with a 3-to-1 touchdown-to-interception ratio when targeting the slot. That should benefit D.D. Westbrook, who ranked 8th in yards and 4th in targets from the slot last season. So maybe a sleeper to keep your eye on if Foles gets to the Jaguars as expected. Who's next?
All right, Joe Flacco was traded from the Ravens to the Broncos. And as we all know, Flacco was replaced last season by rookie Lamar Jackson. So is elite Joe Cool being traded to the Broncos news or noise?
We should note that it hasn't officially happened. It's been reported that that trade is going to happen. But as of right now, as we tape this, he's still on the Ravens. But yes, assuming that trade goes through, I think this is noise. I mean, are we even sure Joe Flacco is an upgrade over Case Keenum? As you can see, their stats over the past 2 seasons, basically the same. Obviously, some of Keenum's stats are skewed by that big year in Minnesota prior to coming to Denver. But the fact remains, I don't see how he's that much of an upgrade over Case Keenum, and I don't see it changing that much for Denver skilled position players. I think this is noise, whatever, to Joe Flacco under center in Denver. Who's next, Secret Squirrel?
All right, our former colleague Jason Witten has left the Monday Night Football booth to rejoin the Dallas Cowboys. Is Witten coming back to the Cowboys news or noise?
Yeah, listen, this is also noise. You know, there's been some reports out there that Witten expected to play about 25 snaps a game. Kind of what Antonio Gates did last season. Doesn't sound like he's going to have a full-time role. And even if he did have a full-time role, you know, candidly, he's just not the same player at this stage in his career. The last season Witten played, he averaged just 35 yards per game, less than 9 yards per catch. Okay, fine. Maybe he catches a couple of short touchdowns. I bet he'll do it against the Giants. But there's just no way you feel comfortable starting Jason Witten on a weekly basis. Even in the deepest of PPR leagues, I can't imagine drafting Jason Witten. We wish him luck. We miss him around here, but still, I think this is noise for me. Who's next?
Finally, Steelers wide receiver Antonio Brown has requested a trade on many occasions. Is this news or noise, Matthew Berry?
This is news, you know what I mean? Unlike when you ask me for a trade, this actually is news. I mean, remember, Antonio Brown finishes the #1 wide receiver in fantasy in 4 of the past 5 seasons. I just can't see that continuing if he leaves Pittsburgh. And all the teams he's rumored to have interest in him, well, his fantasy outlook for 2019 could look drastically different. The 49ers, for instance, would likely be one of the better landing spots for him, but the Titans, the Raiders, the Redskins, maybe the Jets, not so much. Look, there's a connection between him and Big Ben that is just not going to happen no matter where he goes. So I think this is absolutely news because you've got one of the best wide receivers in fantasy over the past 5 years, arguably the best, right, by a wide margin, is certainly going to see his value decrease. And assuming Brown leaves as expected, this will certainly impact Juju Smith-Schuster. I think James Washington becomes an interesting sleeper as well. Juju vaults up into that top 5 range of a wide receiver. So, yeah, this would have a seismic shift in fantasy. It's absolutely news, assuming AB gets dealt.